Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again. Spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. Just earlier, I produced a video explaining to the church how disappointed I am with the church and how much more disappointed I know God is with the church. In fact, I even stated that the church was basically a disgrace to God. I told you just as I see it, based upon what God has given me, and it is what it is. And yet, I find today that I have another message, having given you that message. So, if you're receiving this, reading it, or observing this video first, remember there's another one where I called The Church a Disgrace in God. Something to that effect. The Church Disgrace in God. It might be just that title. Or for this, it would be, it's The Church Embarrassment to God. And I said that because basically I personally am upset with the way the church has responded. Now, when I come to you, ladies and gentlemen, and I talk to you about God, I mean, this is a serious business to me. And I'm sure you claim it's serious to you. But I want to talk to you about that and see, do you really believe that? Or do you know that? You see, my call personally, ladies and gentlemen, is about freedom. You see, I learned a long time ago that just going to church, reading the scriptures and listening to Bible stories all the time didn't really have any real effect, except a routine where once a week you go to church, you dress up, see some friends maybe that you haven't seen, get a chance to go there, sing some songs and read some scriptures, and somebody get up and tell you about a story that you've already read about in the scripture and what it kind of means to them. And perhaps if they thanks. If they're conscientious, they might try to give you some meaning. And this is a routine 4 times a month, 12 months a year. And that's all. That's all I ever saw it as. Whenever they talked about Jesus, how wonderful Jesus was, and I didn't see that translated into any life. I don't know about you. And then in the 60s, there was a movement going on, and it was headed by a young lady who was mad, who said she was fed up with some things that was going on and she wasn't going to take it anymore. Which serves as an evidence to all people of the world what is required when you get fed up. You got to stop. Take a seat, if it will. Meaning you're not going to take it anymore. And only then will things start working for you. When you are serious. And only then will things start working for you. What happens? Then all of a sudden you see the church comes along. The church starts getting into it. They've been into it all the time. But it never had this effect, because they never had the effect of a person who meant they weren't going to take it anymore. Then came along Dr. King, who had the ability to be so articulative that everybody wanted to hear what the jokers were going to say. I mean, everything seemed to have been dynamic, profound, divine. And he gave all the credit to God. He gave all the credit to Jesus Christ and the church, what the people had been bred up believing, hearing. Now he was going to give them a chance to put it to work. His agenda was kind of restrictive. He didn't get too broad, but he got broad enough for the time. And it was by that movement did we see things being elevated. Well, still a young boy, but even before then, the only reason that I respected the church is because God, my friends, had revealed God to me in such a way that all doubt, any possible doubt of God's existence, of God's purpose, and how God works was eliminated. In other words, there was a power that you couldn't really see, can't touch, and you can't feel, but yet made itself so obvious to me, evidence, that all of a sudden, all of humankind couldn't come close to representing that power beyond what that power had allowed them to do. And so that put man a long way, man's way a long way before God. So, to make a long story short, my calling had to do with liberation, freedom, telling the people the truth in such a way that they could understand why change wasn't happening and what would be required for change to happen. And that basically would be the mission of the church. The church would be responsible for taking care of God's business here. Not to knock anything that had happened up until this point. It truly has its place, no doubt. It has been around as long as we've been around. And it has been constant to keep us informed about a superpower. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for me, you heard the story about Moses and the burning bush. You know, people were talking about God, but this burning bush had some effect on Moses, as the story goes. Now, whether that story is true or not, I don't know. And I don't try to sell it as being true. But what I do sell as being true is that if God wanted to do that, God could do that. And I say that because of what God has revealed to me. And so that revelation has nothing to do with what you think, how you think in regards to that. Has nothing to do with that. It has no impact on that whatsoever. But it does put you in your place when it comes down to me and God. So, God loved all of us. And because that revelation was made, to whom much is given, much is required. So, why was I given that revelation? Why was I given this? I was given this for you. God is your maker. God is your father, and the earth is your mother, taking care of you. And God loves you. And you are to be living today right here on earth, not just in America, but in Russia, in China, in Egypt, all the places on earth where people are. You are supposed to be experiencing and enjoying life as though you were in heaven. And since you want to put heaven someplace else, we'll just call it paradise. That is what you are supposed to be experiencing. That is the plan. The earth has been prepared to do its part. And you, the people, have been given to do your part. The only problem that we're having right now is that you're confused. You don't know the truth. You don't know God. You don't know what God wants for you. You don't know any of that. So, my mission has been to come and tell you that. Now, can I do that alone? Everybody knows that one person can spark a fire. And Lord have mercy, a spark, ask California. It can do magnificent things, and it can be very destructive. And so, what will it do? It will require you. If it can't get you, it can't ignite you, it goes out. or it just remains a spark, sparking and sparking, but going nowhere unless it can find something to ignite. And this, my friend, is where the church comes in. The church comes in. But initially, oh boy, so fantastic. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. In 84, I believe, I was given to go on a faith mission, to travel around the country on faith, to tell you these things, to share this information with you. Faith means not financed. Nobody's supporting me officially. I have to go believing that I will be able to go here and there to do what I got to do. And what is required to get me there will materialize. So I went. I went from Minnesota. I'm originally from Mississippi, by way of Chicago. And when I came to Minnesota, it was my first time. I didn't know anything about directions. I was focusing in on this mission. Stayed here for, I guess I had been here at least a year before I took this mission. In fact, I had remarried. And so I asked my brother-in-law which way was to Chicago. And he pointed a direction. Now, the reason I wanted to go Chicago is because when I thought about going, traveling, taking this mission, I wanted to go through states that and cities where I had been. Where if I'm out there looking for donations to get from one place or another, if I'm begging for some gas or some stuff like that or some food, if people ignored me, I could go to perhaps someplace I do know someone who will help me. That's why I wanted it. I set my route that way. Now, let me tell you how it worked. When my brother-in-law had pointed me in a direction, I went that direction, not questioning, not thinking about it. All I'm doing is driving, and my mind is focusing on what I'm about to do, what I'm going to probably encounter, and how I'm going to be dealing with it. Oh, it was just fantastic. But I'm just driving. I'm thinking I'll see signs after a while when I'm getting close to the places that I'm thinking about going. And I'm just driving, And after driven so long, I began to pay attention and looking at signs that I had no familiarity with. And so I stopped at a gas station because I needed the gas. I had gone with a big tank of gas, and back in those days, I used to get a pretty good miles. And I went inside and I asked the attendant about my location. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thinking I'm going to Chicago, where I got to go through Wisconsin. And I'll get into Illinois and then go by Chicago. Now I'm in a place called, well, I don't recall right now. I know I ended up in Valley City, North Dakota. So I was someplace in between there and a tank of gas. So I'm thinking, whoa, I got $50 in my pocket. It's probably going to cost me about $50 to fill this big car tank up. And I haven't even looked at, I'm in the wrong direction. So I had to put the gas in the car, but I knelt down at the gas pump. I knelt down on my knees and I asked God, I said, God, how and why has this happened? You know what my funds are. You know my faith is strong. But why does this happen? And as I asked the question, ladies and gentlemen, the Spirit spoke to me saying thus: this is supposed to be a faith mission, you say. Going by places that you are familiar with does not take much faith. But going a way you had not charted takes a whole lot of faith. Now, you got enough gas to go back home or exercise your faith and go forward. So I exercised my faith, decided to go forward. It was great. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what else happened. That spirit also engaged me to think, keep a documentary of the event, a daily documentary of what was going on, and entitled it American Christians on the Path to Hell. Now I'm thinking, now I'm going out here to excite the church, but you're telling me the American Christians on the path to hell. I seem to have a problem with that. But I wrote the title down, and I just decided to keep a record. I was gone several months before I made it back to Minnesota. And every place I went, I made the documentary, ladies and gentlemen. And when I came back, I researched it, looked at it, studied it, and it's as clear as day. American Christians were on the path to hell. But now, I know God is a loving God. And to know the people out here believe what they do believe. And I want to engage the people. I don't want the people thinking that I came to attack them. I want to be accepted by the people. And to come and say, God says that you're on the road to hell, it was definitely going to incite some animosity. People might want to throw some ice balls at my head. So I decided to kind of fix it up a little bit and call it A Walk Through Life from Hell to Paradise. That was the whole mission, you know, to identify where you're at. You discover that you're in hell. You've been going through it all along, but now you're taking a new message and you're walking out of it into life. But that wasn't the title I was given. That was the title I came up with. So, to make a long story short, ladies and gentlemen, this was back in '84. During that time, I have done all kinds of things to awake you. I mean, I've run for public office, from mayors to U.S. senators, from governor to president, using this message as a platform to generate the waking up of the Christian community, of those who love God, to get busy and take care of God's business. But you know what? Out of all of that, it summed up in the United States presidential election of 2016-2017. In a situation where the people of the country had put before them two representatives, one of the Democratic Party, one of the Republican Party. And no one had anything decent to say about them, at least from the opposing side. It all came as they were evil. Evil. Don't trust them. They did this, they did that. And the nation really felt that way about these people. The only thing that they had going for them is that they would say one is less evil than the other. And so they would make their choice. We'll go for the one that's less evil. In other words, they got two people put before them that represents evil, and they have no choice. They think they got no choice. They act like they got no choice but to accept these people. What happened to their choice? If they wanted good people that had good things said about them, people that were actually out there doing things for people, where were those people? How come they weren't put up before these? Why did we have these two representations of evil? Well, you know why. And the people went for it. They fell for it. Whoever you went to the polls for, you were voting for evil. No, nobody can say anything. If you voted for these, you voted for evil. The thing that gets it, this is the world. This is what they do. This is what they know. This is how they operate. But the church falling in line, going to the polls to vote for what they call the lesser of two evils, voting for evil. They, the instruments, the love letters, the salt of the earth, voting for evil. justifying all that evil represents. And what did it signify? It signified, full circle, the American Christians on the path to hell, evidenced by them voting for evil. Well, this thing about a walk through life from hell to paradise, no, buddy, this is hell. You are on a path to hell. But I'm laughing and smiling because we still have an opportunity. We still have a choice. We don't have to continue this path. We can wake up and take care of God's business. We still have work to do. We have plenty work to do. But ladies and gentlemen, those of you who say you love God, who are members of a church, I want you to pay attention to me right now, because you know everything I told you up to this point is absolutely true. Nobody got any question with it. Nobody. It's absolutely true. I want you to know what the church has been caught up in. Notwithstanding the fact that they were with this evil thing. But look at the churches. Look how many denominations we have. Look how many organizations we even within denominations. Sometimes they got them on the same street corner, so it doesn't represent, trying to get two people. No, they represent somebody trying to have control, somebody who says that their way is better than the next person's way. In fact, all of them says that. Now, they might get together and come on the one banner. Like all of the Methodist churches, they might all come under one banner. All Baptist churches come all under one banner. But each one of those churches, you can bet your last money, while they got certain guidelines that they say they're going to adhere to, each one of those organizations got their own little thing going. And they represent divisions all across the nation, all across the world. And they represent the status quo. I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that is not the role of the church. First of all, the church represents a different government. The church represents a different government. You might live in America. You might live in Russia. You might live anywhere in the world. But the church represents a different government. It represents a just government. It represents a fair government. This is why they call it the light of the world. This is why they call it the salt of the earth. This is why they say that no one can serve two masters. If you do, you'll find yourself going to the polls voting for evil. No. One is for one. To serve God means to represent God. What is God's role in creating the earth? Making the earth capable of meeting your every need. Why did God exercise an introduction of electricity? You know the beginning process, but why? For the reasons that it's used for. And who's supposed to use it? Everybody that needs it, wants it, or desires it. What about planes and cars and trains and boats? Where did that come from? That's an introduction to the world. For all that wants, needs, or desires it. That's God's gift to the human race. The food, the clothing, the shelter, the education, the health care that's needed for survival, all the materials are here. The ability to exercise and extract and create It's in you. You're doing it all the time. Where is it? From God. Why? For the human race. And how is it supposed to be made real? By each of us engaging ourselves with our gifts, our talents, that which gives us our greatest joy. Put our hands to the plow and do this in such a way that it is in an abundance that nobody ever is without any of these things. That's God's way. That is the way the church is supposed to stand up against all that would go and create crime and poverty and violence and terrorism and war and hatred and bigotry. That's the way of the world. This, my friends, is totally different from God's way. And people know that you're a church. Not because you're going there with your nice hats on and your big cars and you're getting out there looking like somebody. No, but you're doing something. You're doing something. You're making sure that everybody is included in this wonderful world that God has given us. That's what the church is doing. Now, I ask you, what church you are that's doing that? I'm not talking about donating to a food shelter. There should be no need for a food shelter. What are you talking about? I'm not talking about some place somebody can get off the street, drink coffee out of the cold. What are you talking about? We're talking, that's homes. Neighbors' homes, sharing, living life. This is what the church is about, ladies and gentlemen. And so when I'm coming out here saying we're going to change the world and make it like God wanted to be, yes, I was told in the beginning that it would be the church that would support this and carry it forward. But it wasn't the church of yesterday. It is the church of today. The church of today have direction. It's not just about going listening over and over again about the story about this or the story about that and what it might mean here and what it might mean there. No, my friends, it's about you with the responsibility to your own life, to the lives of one another, to be joyous in your life, to laugh, to be cheerful. Woo! To love your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, who moves on outside of the doors all across the nation in different places, different shapes, different colors, and different hair textures. They got their own cultures going on. They're not running away from any place, trying to get any place beyond a visit, beyond sharing and embracing and then going back home and doing their thing. What? Golly! Come on. Come on, church. You know that sounds good. Now, you know you've never been like that. That's all right. That's all right. Everybody had to go through what they've gone through. But now, we know we got the responsibilities. Not only do we have the responsibility, we got the power to do it. Yes, it might appear hard to the world who don't know anything about God, but that doesn't mean a hill of beans. That's territory that now we need to nourish and show it how to grow. That's all. We don't have to fear Trump. We don't have to fear democracy and capitalism now, because we are in touch with the power of life. We are the instruments of that life. By George, it's time to live. Do I have to say any more? Well, I'm going to stop right now. I had to talk about you in that other video, though. You were an embarrassment, a disgrace to God. But that's okay, because right now, it is because of you that the world will be felt and filled with the love of God, because you are the instruments thereof. Bye-bye.